Shabbat Shalom, welcome. In our Parashat, we're learning about many details, Parashat Vayetze, how Yaakov, new stage in Yaakov's life after living in his father's place in Be'er Sheva in Israel, side by side with his brother, Esav, twin brother. And after the last week, Yaakov deceived his brother twice, taking the buying the right of firstborn and taking the blessings from his father. As we mentioned last week, they were the same process. Taking the blessings, it's after having the right of firstborn. Yaakov is in a dangerous situation. He needs to run from his father's house and to find for himself a wife. And this is how our parasha begins. Yaakov going to a different place outside Israel. Where? To Haran. Haran, where Abraham is from. Yaakov going there. And the first thing that we're learning in the Torah is the dream that Yaakov have in the way of the ladder that people going up and down, the angels. And that was representing the blessings that God had till then to Yaakov, and the blessings and the protection that God will give Yaakov during his life. As we will learn, Yaakov needed a lot. In the morning, he's continuing his journey and coming to Haran. Haran is coming and standing by the well, as it was the center of everything. And he see it's all situation, how Yaakov meeting Rachel, his wife, standing there. You see all the shepherds coming and waiting that there will be a big group to take the stone covering the well, because it was a big stone. Yaakov start chatting, asking them, where are you from? Do you know Lavan? They said, we know him, and this is his daughter Rachel. When Yaakov seeing Rachel, is getting very emotional. And from this strong emotion, he's taking the stone aside. And actually, the Torah emphasized 3 times that Yaakov saw Rachel his cousin. That the Torah emphasized how strong emotion Yaakov had, because he felt so far from his home. And Rachel was his relative. And he was very emotional about that and very excited to meet his family. Yaakov alone moved the stone, and they meeting and going to her home. Then he's living there, and Lavan understood what's going on. He got to get married to one of his daughters. And Yaakov telling him, yes, I want to marry you younger daughter Rachel, and to work for it for 7 years. Lavan had 2 daughters, Leah and Rachel. Leah was the oldest, Rachel was the youngest. Actually, they were twins, as Yaakov and Esav were twins. Leah and Rachel were twins. Okay? So, Yaakov working for 7 years, and then Rachel telling him, it's true that my father told you that if you would work 7 years, you will get to marry me. But the truth is, I'm not believing my father will keep his promise. I think in the end, he will give you Leah. Yaakov said, I will manage. He will deceive me, I will try to deceive him. And in the wedding, we don't know what exactly was there, how exactly it were, but in the morning it was Leah. In the night, Yaakov didn't notice, and our sage is telling us that Rachel saw that her father bringing Leah instead of her, and she gave signs to Leah to prove Yaakov that she is Rachel, because Yaakov did agree on some signs, or one sign that he will recognize that this is Rachel, because they were both concerned that it will not be Rachel, and Rachel were gave the signs to Leah. And in the morning it was Leah, and Yaakov coming to his father-in-law, asking him what's going on, telling him Leah is the oldest. So he's working another 7 years to deserve Rachel. And they start having kids, the 12 tribes, and most of them, 11 tribes, were born there in Haran. Yaakov worked there for many years. Leah and Rachel gave their servants to Yaakov also, that he will have more kids. And Leah having many kids. Half of the kids are Leah. From Leah, Rachel did not have kids. After few years of waiting, Rachel had one kid, Yosef. And after Yosef is born, Yaakov telling his father-in-law, I want to go back to my father. We're talking about many years after he lived from his father. It was 22 years after. Lavan arranging something with Yaakov. They said to Yaakov, you're giving me many blessings. I got very rich when you were here. Please stay. Yaakov trying to stay. But then he found out that Lavan is already very concerned about the presence of Yaakov. Lavan doesn't want Yaakov anymore, or the sons of Lavan doesn't want him there, because they saying that Yaakov got very rich because of his stealing from Lavan. So he decided, and then he have another dream that God telling him to go back. Yaakov immediately taking everything and going back home. Lavan running after him, and God telling Lavan, do not touch Yaakov, he is protected. And then they're having a very emotional conversation, that Lavan telling Yaakov that he will not harm anybody from his family. And then they dividing this place, that Yaakov will live in one place and Lavan will live in a second one, and they will live in peace. This is how it's ends. Yaakov had few dangers going back. One was Lavan, the second one was Esav, his brother. So one problem was solved. The problem of Lavan was resolved in this situation. There is many details to talk about. Why Yaakov waited, what happened, why he came back. But I want to say, first of all, before we're going to our topic to explain, I want to say something in general that we're learning from all this story. Yaakov built his family in Haran. The first Jewish family was created in Haran and was built there. And this is something very powerful. How come this family was created in Haran? The Jewish family, Haran was Haron Af Shel Makom, place that God is very angry that this place is existed. They were bad people. They were not believers. They were bad people. So how come the Jewish family is built especially there and not in the land of Israel? And the answer is because Yaakov was very special educator. Before Yaakov going to Haran, when he having the dream, the Torah tells us that he put a stone surrounding guarding him from animals. But the stone was guarding only his head. If you need to guard yourself, you should guard all your body. Why you should guard only your head? And the answer is that Yaakov wanted to teach us something very special. When you're guarding yourself, you should first of all guard your head. Before you're going to this place, Haran, that you need to work very hard, every day, all the day. Yaakov worked all the day, 22 years. And he needed at the same time to be involved in the world and to create a Jewish family. What is the secret? The secret is to guard your head. That you will always remember why you're doing everything. Why are you working? Why are you creating a family? Because you have a purpose in life. You have a direction. You're guarding your head. Even though your head is very involved in what's going on, but it's guarded. You always keep in mind what is the reason to all of this. And this was the action that Yaakov did before going to there. And that is the secret. Why Yaakov, how Yaakov was so successful. Why Yaakov created this family there? It's also a very interesting question, and we maybe will mention it. So Yaakov and Rachel. Yaakov saw Rachel in the beginning, and he wanted to marry her from the beginning. And he married her in the end, side by side to her sister. And this is very, very strange. According to the Torah, you're not allowed to marry two sisters. Not only you're not allowed, it's very strong thing to do it. Very, very harsh punishment according to the Torah. We know that our sages, that our fathers kept all the Torah. One proof that we have from last week, Parashat, or a few weeks ago, that Abraham met 3 angels and he gave them milk. And after, the Torah emphasized that after he gave them the meat. Why? Because dairy after meat is not allowed. Dairy before, if you have a small time of waiting, it's allowed. It depends how much. Today there is some customaries, half an hour. But Abraham did keep those laws. So how come Yaakov, the father of all Jewish nation, married 2 sisters that it's not allowed? Yaakov wanted Rachel, but he's going to sleep. He's waking up in the morning, and he sees this is Leah. Why are you marrying Rachel? God gave you Leah. This is the story. This is what happened. You're looking for trouble. You're looking to live many years with two wives that they are sisters. Not only it's not allowed, it's also not healthy to have two sisters in the house. You cannot imagine, yeah. But in our sages' language, to have two wives, they're called sarata. They doing always trouble the wives. If a person have few wives, thank God, we're not allowed to do it now. But when it was allowed, two wives in the house, it's trouble in the house because it's difficult. And you bring in two wives that they are sisters. It's not allowed. Why are you marrying Rachel? There's many explanations. But first of all, we need to understand what is a bit the meaning of our fathers doing what is the Torah before the Torah was given. We know that we have the Jewish nation had many traditions before the Torah was given. God telling in the Torah, it's written that God chose Abraham because he kept the Torah and the mitzvot. All the detail, the mitzvot, it's very hard to explain this verse, this pasuk in a different way. It's very clear that Abraham educating his family to keep all the mitzvot. And we find when Yaakov coming back to meet, next Parashat, to meet his brother Esav, he's telling him, I kept all the laws. So it means that Yaakov continues this tradition to keep all the laws of the Torah. They were not written. And they were not something that they were obligated to do, because God did not command them to do it. They were not commandments. They were customaries. They were traditions. And that's why they also did it not in the same way. They did not tefillin as we put them. They had the idea of tefillin, what the deeper meaning of what does that mean. And maybe they did some action that connected to that meaning, but to do the physical thing that we are doing today, they didn't do. So from one hand, they did it, but not as a commitment, as a mitzvah like we have today after God gave us the Torah, rather as a tradition. And if we're thinking about it, what is the difference between our mitzvot today to the mitzvot that our fathers did before getting the Torah? The difference is very simple. Why are we doing the mitzvot today? Because God told us. Not because they are tradition. What is the difference between tradition to do because God told you? Tradition, it's from you. Of course, when you're doing some tradition, you're singing some songs that you know that your great-great-great-grandfather's songs also. So in some way, you feeling connected to all the generation that did the same thing. But mitzvot have something much more powerful. First of all, when a person doing mitzvah, when a woman lighting Shabbat candles, when a woman lighting Shabbat candles, she's connected to all the women that in that Shabbat lighting Shabbat candles, because they're all doing the same thing. Not only that, she is continuing a chain of Jewish women lighting Shabbat candles in all generations. Some of them gave their life for it. Some of them, they did it in a difficult situation. Some of them did it in the perfect situation. Some of them did it before God gave the Torah. Sarah and Rivka, and the wives of the tribes and Jewish people before going out from Egypt, I'm sure also lighted Shabbat candles. And not only that, the woman that lighting Shabbat candles, now she's connected to the women that next Shabbat will light Shabbat candles, and forever. Why? Because every mitzvah that we're doing, every custom that we're doing, have some effect, have some spiritual effect, have some light in it. And this light is eternal. If it's eternal, it's spiritual light, it's connected to all the good deeds that was done and will be done, because it's staying forever, because something spiritual is not stopping, and especially blessing. So the power of the mitzvah that we are doing is not because we decided to do it and we're feeling good about it. It's because God asked us to do it. Because He asked me, and I know that He asked my great-grandfather and his great-grandfather. He asked us the same. So it have the same effect, and they are all connected because we're all doing the same thing God asked us to do. We're doing it. The same person asked me and asked the people that were 1,000 years back and will be 1,000 years on. So we all connected, we all united. In every good deed that we're doing, you are connected with all Jewish nation and with God Almighty, of course. The same thing is in every mitzvah that we are doing. But when a person doing some good deed as a custom, it means that he feeling connected to his great-grandfather, to his ancestors. To this person really connected? To this, your great-grandfather, he's singing the same song of Shalom Aleichem. Did he thought about you? He knew that you will be existed? Does he connected to you? Or you feeling connected to him? The true connection that we have with our past is because we connected to something that it's above time, that is more strong than time. And this is Torah, and this is God. Back to our fathers. Our fathers, our ancestors, prepared the way to our good deeds that we're doing, to the mitzvot. So they created the path, they created everything. But they were not obligated to do it. God did not ask them to do it, except from very few and special things. God did not ask Abraham to keep Shabbat. He did not ask Yaakov to do Pesach. But they did it because it has spiritual impact. Does it come and connected to the level of mitzvot that we are doing? No, because we have the power of the person giving us the mitzvot. They have a different power, very special power, because they were holy people. But God did not ask them to do it. When we're doing something, we're doing exactly what the creator of the world asked us as personal individuals to do. And this is special power. So, Yaakov knows that he's not allowed to marry two sisters according to the Torah. But what was the situation? Yaakov coming to his father-in-law house and asking him to marry Rachel. Lavan said, no problem. Does Rachel know it? Of course he knows it. Does Lavan Yaakov and Rachel speaking about it? Of course. Yaakov and Rachel did signs that they will recognize each other because they were afraid. And Yaakov in the morning waking up, and this is not Rachel, this is Leah. According to the Torah, he's not allowed to marry Rachel. Actually, it's very interesting that the Torah not telling us the story around. I've just mentioned that it's very dramatic episode. Yaakov waking up in the morning, and the Torah said, and it was Leah, and this is it. The Torah did not elaborate what was going on there. Yaakov and Leah, and Yaakov and Rachel, and Lavan, how it's going on, how it worked out. And this is what's special about the Torah. There is a midrash that telling us that Yaakov told Leah in the morning, how you deceived me. So Leah told him, what do you mean? You deceived your father to take the blessings. You told your father that you are Esav. What is the meaning of that answer? As I mentioned earlier, Yaakov and Esav were twins. And Rachel and Leah were twins also. Esav was the oldest and Leah was the oldest. Rachel was the youngest. Last year in this parasha we talked how Rachel were connected to Yaakov and Leah was connected to Esav. That's why Yaakov wanted all the time Rachel. Because Rachel was a person that is like holy person. Rachel was beautiful, a perfect person, a complete person. That was Yaakov's way. Esav was a person that need to struggle and need to reveal new powers. That's why Esav was the character of Esav. And Leah was also the same kind of person. Always going out, always trying to find new things to do, new powers to impact. That's why she had the most of the kids, because she really worked on it. So that was the match. Leah to Esav, Rachel to Yaakov. But Yaakov trying all his life to be the firstborn. Last week we learned that Yaakov buying the rights of firstborn from his brother Esav. After that, he's taking the blessings as firstborn. Leah telling Yaakov, you deceived your father to get the rights of the firstborn. So you deserved me. I am your wife. But this is by the way. When Yaakov realizing the situation, that or he's staying with Leah and keeping the laws that he didn't got yet, but this is what he's doing. This is his tradition. This is his customary. From the other hand, if he's doing that and not marrying Rachel, he lied to Rachel. He promised Rachel that he will marry her. They were planning the wedding. They gave signs to each other. So why would you lie to a person? Because you have a custom that you decided to do? Our mitzvot is not decision of us. It's God commanded us to do it. We forced by the power of the commandments of God. Yaakov was not forced by the powers of the commandments of God. God did not told him to do it. This is something that he took upon himself to do, to be more holy. But you cannot be more holy if other person get infected by it, get it insulted, or deceived. So if you're not marrying Rachel, you're deceiving her. And this, to keep promises, it's a law that all the people must do. That's why Yaakov telling Lavan, how you deceived me. We all must keep promises. And Yaakov was exactly the opposite of Lavan. He sacrificed his customs that he kept very strong to marry Rachel, to keep his promises. And this is very powerful learning that we can learn from it. We obligated to do what we are obligated to do. What is our role? Something that you decided to do to be more good person, you cannot do it on the other person's back. It's very important sometimes to be righteous on the other person's back. It's not meaning to be righteous. Shabbat Shalom and have a good week.